Hi, welcome to Cookbooks and Chaos, where I help you get food on the table so you can get back to the beautiful chaos of your life. Today, we're making one of my favorite recipes, chicken tetrazzini. The recipe we're going to use today comes from a Taste of Home cookbook called Everyday Slow Cooker and One Dish Recipes from 2011. And the recipe that we're going to do is actually a turkey tetrazzini recipe, but I'm modifying it. I don't have turkey. I do have chicken. So this will be a chicken tetrazzini. I hope you enjoy it. For this recipe, we're going to need half a pound of spaghetti. I've broken the spaghetti noodles in half, just because for this recipe, it just makes it a little bit easier. I've got water here in this pot that I'm going to bring to a boil, and then we'll boil these so they're ready for our recipe. Okay. I also have 1/4 of a cup of finely minced onion. This is fresh onion that I've cut up. We also need a tablespoon of butter, which I have here. I have 1 clove of garlic already minced. So this is fresh garlic that I've minced. Of course, you don't have to use fresh garlic. You can use minced garlic that's been dried, or you can use even garlic powder if you don't have garlic on hand. I have 3 tablespoons of cornstarch, which we're actually going to use to thicken the ingredients to make the sauce for this. I have 14.5 ounces of chicken broth. This is low sodium chicken broth because that's what I have to use. And it's what I had on hand. And give that a stir a little bit. Okay. So we also need, it says 1 can of fat-free evaporated milk. I didn't happen to have evaporated milk, so I'm just using regular milk here. It should come out just as good. Okay, I also have 2.5 cups of chopped chicken. The recipe calls for mushrooms. It calls for 1 4-ounce can of mushroom stems and pieces that have been drained. Some of the family members here don't like mushrooms, so I'm not adding mushrooms today. We also call for seasoning. So the seasonings that we have here are 1/2 teaspoon of seasoned salt, a dash of pepper. In my case, I'm using 1/8 of a teaspoon. And then 1/4 of a teaspoon of paprika. Obviously, this is just regular paprika. Nothing fancy about it. And this is 2 tablespoons of grated Parmesan cheese. I keep looking at the recipe to make sure I tell you everything correctly. And that's it. That's all we need for today. Looks like my water is boiling, so let me get the pasta in to boil. Right. I have one of these neat little pasta spoons that I like to use. The trick for boiling pasta is that you need a large pot and you need plenty of water. You want to have room for the pasta to move around as it boils. All right, get that going. Okay. I'm going to adjust here and move the camera so that you can see as I add things here to the pot. Once the spaghetti is done, we'll drain it and set that aside until we're ready. Okay, we're going to use the same saucepan, this large saucepan, in order to complete the rest of the steps of the recipe. Hopefully you can see the pasta here without the steam blocking the camera. So we're just going to keep that moving and let it continue to boil until it's done. All right, this is done. So I'm going to get it off the fire here and drain. All right, now comes the next step of this recipe. Lower the heat down to about medium-low. And then 1 tablespoon of butter melting. We're going to let that melt a little bit. We're going to saute our onions in this butter. Something really good about onion being cooked in butter. I don't know what. It just smells really good. I mean, if you like onions. All right, so while that's sauteing, the recipe says that we are going to saute until tender And then we're going to add garlic and cook for 1 minute longer. So I'll just give this another minute or so. It doesn't take long to saute 1/4 cup of onions, so just keep an eye on it. All right, that looks pretty good. You can go ahead and saute until it's done to your like. If you like your onions to be translucent, then go ahead and continue to cook them. I'm going to leave mine just a little bit firm and not quite all the way translucent because these are going to cook in the oven here in a minute. Okay, while we're doing this, let's go ahead and preheat our oven. We're going to preheat our oven to 350 degrees. So thankfully my oven's pretty quiet as it preheats, so it shouldn't bother us for audio. All right, get this going. Looks wonderful. Before I started cooking, I also oiled a glass pan. This recipe bakes in a 8x8 pan, which is basically just a square pan. So if you happen to have a 9x9 pan instead of an 8x8, you can use that too. All right, we're going to go ahead and add our minced garlic. Let that cook a little bit with the onion. Get in there, you. Let that cook for about a minute. So the recipe says that at this point, what we want to do is combine the cornstarch and the chicken broth. So I'm going to do that here. This side of the oven is not hot, so we should be okay. All right, so I'm just going to stir that in. I'm going to use a whisk in order to whisk that in well. Okay, give this a little stir. Okay, we don't want it to burn. All right, we're going to whisk this one. Once that's all whisked together, the recipe says that we should stir it into the onion mixture. Okay, so we're going to do that now. Okay. We're cooking and stirring this for about 2 minutes. The recipe does say to bring it to a boil, so I'm going to turn up the heat a little bit. You can already see the steam rising, or maybe you can on the camera, I'm not sure. But hopefully you can already see the steam rising on the camera. And so we should be coming to a boil here in just a moment. Because we're using a large pot, the surface area here of the pot is pretty broad, and so the liquid comes in contact with that hot surface, so it should boil pretty quickly. Yep, already seeing bubbles. So we're going to cook and stir for 2 minutes. And you can see that it's already starting to thicken up. Okay, and that's what we want. Getting a nice thick base here. We're going to add milk in just a moment. Keep stirring. You don't want it to burn. All right, so it's about 2 minutes. We're going to reduce the heat to low and add the milk, stirring as we add it. Okay. All right, that looks beautiful. That looks beautiful. And now, according to the recipe, we're going to add spaghetti, turkey. If you're using mushrooms, you add them also. We're also going to add the seasoned salt and the pepper. All right, I'm going to go ahead and add the seasoned salt now in the liquid phase before we add the bulk ingredients. Okay, so there's the seasoned salt. I'm just adding that in and giving it a nice stir. And here's the pepper, adding that in, giving it a nice stir. And now I'm going to add the turkey, or in my case, chicken. Yeah, I've seen tetrazzini made with turkey. I've seen it made with chicken. I've seen it made with ham. I bet you could even use pork loin chopped up in the chunks if you wanted to. I've never seen that, but I bet you could. All right, so that's in there. It's looking beautiful. And now we add the spaghetti. I'm going to switch to this one. We're going to add spaghetti. Beautiful. Get off my little strainer. And now I'm going to use this and mix it beautifully together. That makes it wonderful. I don't know why I'm singing to the camera, but I don't care because I love this. You can add whatever vegetables you like. I'm actually going to serve sliced tomatoes, and I'm going to drizzle the sliced tomatoes with a little bit of pesto. So I'm not too worried about not having a vegetable in this because I will be adding vegetables on the side. All right. All right, so that's where we are. You can see in the pot that it looks pretty good, but it also looks a little bit bland, and that's totally all right. Okay, so I'm going to bring this over. Okay, now I'm going to very carefully add this to this pot. Don't just dump it all in there because you could get burned. Okay, you want to be very careful and control what you're doing here. Instead of doing it like this and dumping the pot into this, use a spoon if you need to. Don't try to be fancy. Just do it the safest way that you can. All right? There we go. And it looks wonderful already. It will look even better after we cook it. Okay. So we've transferred it now to our 8-inch square baking dish. What we're going to do now is cover it with aluminum foil. Okay. We're going to bake it at 350 degrees for 20 minutes. And then we're going to uncover and sprinkle with the cheese and the paprika. Okay? So that's where we are now. All right. I'm actually going to set this on a tray to put it in the oven because I don't want it to drip all over my oven. And actually, you should probably do the same thing. Do I expect it to drip? No. Is it possible that it will? Yes. So I'm using my old pan. You've seen this pan before. I use it whenever I'm afraid something's going to drip over. Timer is about to go off. And I'm going to pull out the Tetrazzini, adjust the camera to show you that I'm going to sprinkle with the Parmesan and the paprika, and we'll slide it back in the oven. It's going to continue to bake at 350 degrees for another 5 or 10 minutes after we've uncovered it. Okay, so that's where we are. Ignore my junky pan. Nothing actually spilled over, so that's good. Oh no, I've got some sticking. Probably should have sprayed my aluminum foil, but I didn't. Look at that. Look at that. That's a mess. That's all right. We'll sacrifice a few noodles. Darn it. Okay. So now what we're going to do is sprinkle this beautiful thing with some Parmesan. Okay. And now we're going to sprinkle it with some beautiful paprika. Just a little sprinkle. Nope. It's my oven telling me to put it back in. Okay. And now I am going to put it back in since it hasn't spilled over. I'm going to go ahead and put it in just like this. Ta-da! It looks lovely. I actually love turkey or chicken or ham, tetrazzini. I just love pasta. Anyway, you can see it's pretty bubbly, so I'm going to let that cool a little bit. I've got my tomatoes ready. I'm also probably going to add garlic bread if my husband wants garlic bread. But anyway, this is dinner. I love tetrazzini. This is one of my favorites. I hope you give it a try. Of course, there are other tetrazzini recipes out there, and you can modify this recipe however you would like. If you want to make it vegetarian, you could try adding peas to it. You could also do a broccoli or a vegetable blend in place of the chicken and the mushrooms. That would be delicious. You could also serve this with a green salad instead of sliced tomatoes. It would be really good either way. I also like this with leftovers the next day. Sometimes it tastes even better the next day. Anyway, I hope you had fun today, and I hope you give this recipe a try. And if you are one of my favorite people in this world, I am thinking of you. I think of you every day. And I hope you have a great day. Now, I'm going to also say, I hope I can do this right, go Cougs, and go make some chaos. Bye.